Good morning, everyone, including Mr. Frederick. I'm your host, Anna Meeker, and this is Meet the Really, Really Old Celebrities. Please join me in welcoming our first guest from Russia, Vladimir Lenin. Hello, comrades. Thanks for joining us, comrade. Thanks for having me. I'm a big fan of your show. Well, it's great to have you here today. How's your wife? My wife, Nadezhda Krupskaya, is still my secretary and doing fine. That is super duper. So, Vlad, you were one of the 20th century's most significant political leaders. Tell me more about what inspired you. I was inspired by a book written by Karl Marx called Das Kapital. I believe in the rights of the workers. Tell me about your childhood. I grew up in a happy family as Vladimir Ilyich Leninov, but changed my last name to Lenin when I was older. Really? Why Lenin? My changed last name came from the river Lena. I was in exile in that area of the country, and it is beautiful. Oh, I see. What was your family life like? It was generally a happy childhood, but then my father died from a heart attack. My brother got arrested and executed for being a terrorist, and I was arrested and spent months in jail. Wow, sounds like a tough childhood. What was school like? When I was studying to be a lawyer, I was expelled from my university for being a revolutionary and spent a few months in exile. But they eventually let me come back to finish my degree. Were you ever attacked for your political views? Yes, I survived an assassination attempt. Tell me about your career. Well, I started as a lawyer. Then I became a revolutionary activist. I eventually became the chairman of the Soviet Union. I know you are very famous. We learned about you in my world history class. Yes, I was the leader of the Bolshevik Revolution, founder of the Communist Party, and the first leader of the Soviet state. I heard something that was said about you. There is no other man who is absorbed by the revolution 24 hours a day, who has no other thoughts but the thought of revolution, and who, even when he sleeps, dreams of nothing but revolution. What do you think about that? I think it is very true. I was always interested in a revolution for the people. Thanks for being with us. Thanks for having me. Spasibo. Our next guest comes all the way from the United States of America. He is a 5-star general and fought in 3 major wars. Please join me in welcoming General Douglas MacArthur. Thank you for inviting me. Tin Hut. I was really impressed to read about your history. May I ask you a few questions? Sure, hit me with your questions. I understand. You always wanted to be a soldier. Is that true? Yes, I grew up in a military family in the Old West. My father was also in the military. I attended West Point and graduated at the top of my class. Did you play any sports? Yep. I played football, tennis, and baseball. I bet you were a natural leader. What else did you enjoy as a child? I used to ride horses and shoot with my family.
Cool. I guess your dream came true to become a famous soldier. Tell me a little about your career.
I fought in 3 wars: World War One, World War Two, and the Korean War. I was a field marshal in the Philippine Army and chief of staff of the United States Army.
What's a field marshal?
Good question. A field marshal is a very senior military rank, higher than even generals.
Wow. Did you have any adventures while you were in the Philippines?
Yes, when Japan attacked the Philippines, I had to escape with my wife and child through enemy lines on a small boat.
I bet that was scary. I'm glad it turned out all okay. What else did you do in your career?
One of the things I am proudest of is that I was in charge of rebuilding Japan after the atomic bombs destroyed the country. As you know, Japan became one of the world's largest economies.
Very impressive. I heard you were also the president of the U.S. Olympic Committee in 1928. Is that fun?
It was a lot of work, but it was fun to meet all the athletes.
And didn't you establish and organize the Civilian Conservation Corps? My great-grandfather and great-uncle served in that organization.
That's wonderful.
Did you ever have any nicknames in your career?
I sure did. People used to call me Dugout Doug and Big Chief.
But I also heard that you had a problem with President Truman. Tell me about that.
That was during the Korean War. When China joined the war to support North Korea, I wanted to attack them. But the president disagreed and fired me. I guess he didn't want to start World War III.
That's too bad. Well, you had a very impressive career. Thank you for your service to the United States. And thanks for being with us today.
My pleasure. And as I told the Philippine people, I shall return. Our next guest is from France and is a member of royalty. Please welcome Marie Antoinette. Bonjour. Merci. Thank you for coming on the show today. I love your hair. Do you always wear it fancy? Thank you very much. I love big hairdos. Do you know that one time I even had a sheep woven into my hair to celebrate a military victory?
Wow, that's different. So tell me a little about your childhood.
I was raised as an Austrian princess with a very large family. I had 14 brothers and sisters.
Wow, that is big. So you lived in Austria?
Only for a little while. When I was 14, I was promised as a bride to a prince of France to make sure that our countries got along. My husband was eventually crowned King Louis XVI.
Did you go to school?
I did, but I wasn't a very good student. However, I loved dancing and music. I was also trained how to be a member of royalty. It's not as easy as it looks.
Did you ever meet any famous musicians?
Why, yes. When I was only 7 years old, I met a man named Mozart. He was a very famous composer.
That's cool. So how did you get along with the French people as their queen?
At the beginning, the people loved me, but they eventually got tired of me and my interest in clothes and fashion and how much money I spent.
That's too bad. What happened then?
They started calling me Madame Deficit. I didn't like that name, but I will admit that I was foolish and inconsiderate when I was younger.
Did things get better?
Not really. There was a lot of scandal when I was in France. I was accused of having affairs and cheating some jewelers out of a diamond necklace. Eventually, there was a revolution and my family was taken hostage. It was quite scary.
Oh no, what happened next?
The revolutionaries executed my husband and put me in prison. Then I also was sentenced to die by the guillotine. It was not a very happy life.
I'm sorry to hear that. Is there anything else about your legacy that you would like to tell us?
Well, the town of Marietta, Ohio was named in my honor. I guess that's good.
One last question. Did you really say let them eat cake when you were told that the people were so poor that they couldn't afford bread?
No, I admit that I was not always very nice. I never actually said that.
Well, thank you for being on the show today.
My pleasure. Merci for having me. Our next guest is also from France.
He is a navigator and explorer. Please put your hands together for Jacques Cartier.
Merci, merci.
Bonjour and welcome to the show. Did you have any trouble finding us?
No, I'm very good with directions.
How long have you been sailing?
I started sailing as a young man. I was always enchanted by the sea.
Where did you sail?
I had some early voyages to Newfoundland and Brazil, but most people know me for my trips to what is now known as Canada.
How did you end up going to Canada?
A man named Jean Leveilleur introduced me to the King of France, and he hired me to go.
Why Canada?
Like many explorers, I was trying to find a route to Asia in order to get spices and silk. I only made it to North America, but I claimed Canada for France.
How many times did you go to Canada?
I made 3 voyages there. I met the Gulf of St. Lawrence and some of the St. Lawrence River.
How did you come up with the name Canada?
Canada is from the native word Canada, meaning village or settlement.
That's cool. Did you have any hardships on your voyages?
Yes, the winter in Canada is much harsher than the winter in France, and I was not prepared for the cold. My ships got frozen in the river, and I could not leave until the spring thaw. Also, many of my men got sick.
Oh, that's too bad. Anything else?
Well, it's embarrassing to say no. On one voyage, I thought we had found a lot of gold and diamonds. When we got back to France, though, it turned out we had only found pyrite, or fool's gold, and quartz crystals.
Bummer. Did you get along with the native people in Canada?
Sometimes I tried to be friendly, and they were very helpful at first, but I kidnapped a couple of men and took them back to France. It probably wasn't very nice of me.
Did you know there are a lot of places in Canada named for you?
Really? I named one of the islands after me, but I didn't know there were others.
Yep, parks and rivers and bridges and monuments. You made quite an impact on the country of Canada.
Well, that's wonderful. It is a beautiful country.
Thank you for being with us today.
De rien.
It was my pleasure. And now, our final guest comes from Russia. He is a cosmonaut and a Soviet pilot. Let's give a warm welcome to Yuri Gagarin. Welcome, Yuri. Thank you for being here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. I love listening to your show from outer space.
So, Yuri, when did you first learn how to fly?
When I was 16, I was working at a steel plant. After my graduation from school, I volunteered at a local flying club, and that's where I first learned that I loved to fly.
Tell me something about your childhood.
Well, the Nazis made my childhood pretty miserable. They moved into our town and even moved into our house. My family and I had to live in a mud hut in our own backyard. My older brother and sister were forced to be slaves in Poland.
Wow, that's awful. Did you continue to fly as you got older?
Yes, I went to pilot school and became a lieutenant in the Soviet Air Forces.
How did you get involved with the space program?
The Soviet space program selected 20 pilots for training, and I was one of them. The training was very hard on both our bodies and our minds, but I was good at it and got selected for the first flight into outer space. I think it helped that I wasn't too tall, as the cockpit was very small.
That's very exciting. Were you nervous?
A little, but I was very confident. I understood the math that allowed me to go into space, and that kept me from being too nervous.
Did you ever play any sports?
While I was training to be a cosmonaut, I played a lot of hockey. I was a good goalie because I was so focused. I also coached basketball, which I enjoyed very much.
Did being the first human into outer space make you famous?
Yes, I was in many parades and received many medals. I got to travel all around the world. However, my sudden rise to fame caused me to drink too much at parties, so I had to be careful.
Are you married?
Yes, my wife's name is Valentina, and we have 2 beautiful daughters.
Did you win any awards?
Yes, Nikita Khrushchev awarded me the title of Hero of the Soviet Union for being the first human to travel into outer space.
Congratulations! What happened after your famous flight? Did you ever go into outer space again?
Unfortunately, no. The Soviet space program decided that it was too risky for me to go again. I continued to fly as a fighter pilot in the Air Force though.
Well, thank you for sharing your story with us. You are a true hero. Many other people have traveled into space, but you are the first one.
It has been my pleasure to talk to you today.
And that's the end of our show for today. Tune in again next time for more conversations with really, really old celebrities. I'm your host, Anna Meter.